On the night of February 28, 2026, the skies over Tehran erupted in fire. A massive, coordinated U.S. and Israeli military operation, Operation Epic Fury.
Name of this operation, according to the Pentagon, is Epic Fury.
And Roaring Lion struck the heart of the Iranian capital. The primary target was the highly secure compound of the most powerful man in the Middle East, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. For nearly 37 years, he had been the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, a resolute anti-imperialist who forged a global axis of resistance and ruled his nation with an iron grip. His death at the age of 86 marked the violent end of an era, leaving behind a complex legacy of religious devotion, profound geopolitical influence, and brutal domestic repression. This is the story of the boy from Mashhad who became the central architect of the modern Iranian state.
We've heard from both the Israeli Prime Minister and the US President that the Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, has been killed.
The roots of a revolutionary. Ali Khamenei was born on April 19, 1939 in the holy city of Mashhad in northeastern Iran. His father, Syed Javad Khamenei, was a traditional Islamic scholar of Azerbaijani descent who lived a life of strict asceticism and poverty. His mother, Khadija Mirdamadi, a memorizer of the Quran, instilled in him a deep love for religion and literature. The Khamenei family lived in a single-room house measuring just 70 square meters, sharing a dark basement when visitors came to consult his father. Despite this bitter hardship, Ali's childhood was steeped in intellectual curiosity. He began his education at age 4. As a teenager, he read widely, developing a passion for poetry and world literature. He wrote his own poems under the pseudonym Amin and deeply admired Western classics like Victor Hugo's Les Misérables, which he called a miracle in the novel-writing world. Khamenei continued his rigorous clerical training in Najaf, Iraq, and later in Qum, Iran. However, the young cleric was not just interested in religious jurisprudence, he was captivated by the radical political currents sweeping the Middle East. In the 1960s, Iran was ruled by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, whose aggressive secularization and close ties with the United States and Israel alienated the country's conservative clergy. In Qum, Khamenei became a devoted pupil of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a charismatic cleric who vehemently opposed the Shah. Khamenei absorbed Khomeini's revolutionary doctrine of Vilayat al-Faqih, or the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. Khamenei was also heavily influenced by the Egyptian Islamist thinker Sayyid Qutb, translating Qutb's works into Persian to bridge Shia and Sunni revolutionary thought and to critique Western civilization and Westoxification. For the next 16 years, Khamenei became a central pillar of the anti-Pahlavi movement. His fiery sermons against imperialism made him a prime target for Savak, the Shah's brutal secret police. He was arrested 6 times, subjected to severe interrogations and torture, and sentenced to internal exile in the remote city of Iranshah. The crucible of power and the presidency. The tides of history were turning. In 1979, millions of Iranians took to the streets, forcing the Shah to flee. Ayatollah Khomeini returned triumphant, and the Islamic Republic of Iran was born. Khamenei, seasoned by prison and exile, was quickly appointed to the Revolutionary Council, named the Friday Prayer Imam of Tehran, and served as Deputy Minister of Defense. On June 27, 1981, Khamenei was delivering a lecture at the Abu Zar Mosque in Tehran when a bomb, concealed in a tape recorder by the opposition group Mujahideen-e-Khalq, exploded right beside him. The blast permanently paralyzed his right arm and severely injured his vocal cords and lungs. He survived, bearing the injury with quiet dignity as a living martyr, a status that drastically elevated his spiritual aura among the revolutionary elite. Months later, following the assassination of the country's president and prime minister, Khamenei was elected president of Iran in a landslide victory. He served 2 terms from 1981 to 1989, leading the nation through the devastating 8-year Iran-Iraq War. Often appearing on the front lines in military attire, he built lifelong strategic alliances with the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. His presidency was also marked by dark periods, including the 1988 mass executions of thousands of political prisoners, a purge carried out while he was in office. Ascension to supreme leader. On June 3, 1989, the founder of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, died, plunging the nation into a succession crisis. The Iranian constitution originally required the supreme leader to be a grand ayatollah of the highest scholarly rank. Khamenei was merely a mid-ranking cleric, and even publicly stated in a leaked video that he was not religiously qualified for the role, suggesting he would only be a ceremonial leader. However, orchestrated by political power broker Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, the Assembly of Experts amended the constitution, dropping the stringent religious requirement to prioritize political and administrative capability. On August 6, 1989, Ali Khamenei was permanently confirmed as the second supreme leader of Iran, the architect of resistance. As supreme leader, Khamenei was far from a ceremonial figurehead. Lacking the initial religious charisma of Khomeini, he meticulously built an unparalleled base of power by constructing a massive parallel state within his office, known as the Beit. With a staff of thousands, he embedded personal representatives in every branch of government, university, and military unit. He transformed the IRGC from a revolutionary militia into a dominant military and economic empire, ensuring their absolute loyalty. Through foundations known as bonyads, Khamenei controlled an estimated $95 billion in assets, allowing him to operate entirely independent of the elected parliament. Khamenei's view world was defined by a profound suspicion of the West, particularly the United States, which he viewed as a declining power intent on destroying Iran through cultural aggression and economic sanctions. In response, he became the chief architect of the Axis of Resistance. Under the operational command of the IRGC's Quds Force, Khamenei provided strategic depth, funding, and arms to Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Assad regime in Syria. He famously declared that Israel was a cancerous tumor that would not exist in 25 years. Despite this hardline stance, he was a pragmatist when regime survival was at stake. In 2015, facing crippling economic sanctions, Khamenei authorized heroic flexibility, allowing President Hassan Rouhani to negotiate the landmark nuclear deal with world powers. However, when the U.S. withdrew from the deal in 2018, Khamenei's distrust was vindicated in the eyes of his hardline supporters, leading Iran to expand its nuclear program and forge tighter alliances with Russia and China. While Khamenei projected strength abroad, his rule at home was marked by severe economic crisis and mounting domestic fury. He faced multiple waves of massive protests, the 1999 student uprisings, the 2009 Green Movement, the 2019 fuel protests, and the 2022 Woman, Life, Freedom movement. Khamenei consistently dismissed these organic uprisings as foreign-backed conspiracies. His response was unrelenting repression. Relying on the IRGC and the Basij militia, his regime ordered brutal crackdowns. According to human rights organizations, the violence reached a horrific peak in early 2026 when authorities killed over 30,000 protesters during a massive nationwide uprising triggered by a collapsing economy. Khamenei's life was written in the fires of a devastating regional conflict. In 2025, the 12-day war exposed the vulnerabilities of Iran's air defenses and proxy networks. The aging supreme leader became increasingly reclusive, retreating to heavily fortified underground bunkers. But on the morning of February 28, 2026, U.S. and Israeli forces launched a massive decapitation strike aimed squarely at the Iranian leadership. Precision bunker-buster bombs obliterated Khamenei's compound in central Tehran. The 86-year-old supreme leader was killed, along with his wife, Mansoura, several close family members, and top military commanders. The news of his death sent shockwaves across the globe. In Iran, the state media declared him a martyr and announced 40 days of national mourning. Hardline supporters wept openly in the streets of Mashhad and Tehran, mourning the loss of their spiritual and political compass.
This is just the beginning. Next time, we're going down a completely different rabbit hole. I've spent the last 26 days uncovering the real story behind chocolate. And I promise you, you will never look at a chocolate bar the same way again. Subscribe so you don't miss it.